Pleasant evening to all those who have stayed up late to be with me this evening. Welcome to the second episode in the new season of Up Late with Sehon Marshall. I am your host, Sehon Marshall. Thank you so much for joining. This evening, we have a very special program for you. Today, our country celebrates National Heroes Day. Now, let me say this and give some context. If you are younger than 22 years old, then you wouldn't understand the significance of our discussion today. So I beg you, I encourage you to stay tuned because what you know now as National Heroes Day didn't always exist. Imagine previously, as a little boy growing up, celebrating January 22nd as Discovery Day. This holiday paid homage to someone who was widely argued or believed to have discovered the New World, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Christy Columbus. And so January 22nd was the holiday that was dedicated to him. But what exactly were we celebrating? The discovery of a new world? People lived here. So we were celebrating the beginning of genocide, the beginning of colonialization or colonialism, the beginning of slavery. All of those things, as Europeans came to the land, met natives, and decided your way of life, your lifestyle is just not like mine. And as far as I'm concerned, it's worse. So I'm going to call you all sorts of names, barbaric and cannibals and so forth. And when I describe you like this, when I speak of you like this, when I create this narrative, then it gives me right of way and license to do unspeakable damage and evil to you. And that's precisely what happened. Our story has been sentience, talks about or tells about the, the enslaving of African bodies. It talks of the genocide committed against the native Garifuna people, the way they were exiled. So that today, even though we have a history, a rich history of Garifuna, we do not even speak the language. But that's another story. As we reflect, though, I want us to, in our discussion today, reflect on exactly what National Heroes Day means or should mean to each and every one of us. What exactly forms part of our reflection? How do we express our Vincentianness? These are some of the things I expect or I would hope would come out in tonight's discussion. We have three fantastic guests this afternoon who would bring you different perspectives of our discussion today and hopefully would enrich your appreciation of National Heroes Day and of Vincentianness. So get your coffee, get your tea, whatever snacks you use, get it and sit back, relax. You're up late with Sion Marshall. Our first guest this evening is a young lady who's, with all her training in academia and so on, she has a first degree with honors. She's pursuing a master's degree. But I believe her passion is dance. Her passion is culture. Years ago, I wouldn't say which year because I wouldn't want to get into any speculations of her age. She was crowned Miss SVG. And she's always had this passion for dance. And her passion for dance spills over in her nurturing of young people as she now nurtures a group of individuals in dance, in the art of dance, the gracefulness of dance. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming to this show someone who has decided to stay up late with us tonight. I am speaking of no other than Miss Juanita Phillips. Juanita, good evening, and thank you for staying up late.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
I don't know why laughing, but laughing is contagious. Why laughter? That's all
Yes.
right. That's uh, um, Juanita, today's National Heroes Day. Um, when we speak of Heroes Day, what comes to mind for you? What are some of the thoughts or some of the emotions or some of the things that come to mind when we speak of National Heroes Day?
When I think of National Heroes Day, I think of a proud state, a proud country. I am part of that country who has fought for our freedom. Our ancestors has worked hard to place us in the positions we are in today. And we as a people, um, we are to carry on that mantle. They've passed the torch to us, and I think it is our responsibility to carry on that mantle for our future generations. So I feel really proud, really honored, really fulfilled when I think of National Heroes Day.
Do you think and I'm just picking up your brain a little bit. Do you think that is a feeling, that sense of pride and that sense of Vincentianness is something that is very popular among the ordinary individuals? Do you think they understand the significance of what we celebrate when we celebrate March 14th?
I think we do because during this period, which is very sad because sometimes it seems as if it's seasonal. It's only when the time comes around that we put the effort into making a big deal out of it. But it's something that should be celebrated throughout the year. But on the day, yes, I think that people normally celebrate it with a sense of pride. And we can give recognition to the persons from Greg's at the Department of Culture. We normally do a wreath laying ceremony, and we know that persons are interested because their lives are usually filled with viewers. So I think it's good on the day, but we can actually do better throughout the year.
I'm glad you mentioned the wreath laying ceremony at the obelisk. I had the privilege of hosting that, emceeing that last year, and we had a contingent of individuals from South America. Some
Mhm.
came down from the U.S. Garifuna descendants, and they were so proud to be a part of the celebration. And you're right, more and more Vincentians, especially the young people, are taking notice of that wreath laying ceremony. They're paying attention, they're tuning in, and I, that you mentioned. Now that you mentioned it, I do feel good at the level of interest that young people are taking in that wreath laying ceremony and ceremonies and activities around National Heroes Day in general.
Yes, agreed.
All right. Now, tell us a little bit about Juanita. I mean, I did mention a bit about you that you are a former Miss SVG. Where did that love, that passion for culture, for pageantry, and so forth come from?
The love for culture would have stemmed from a young age, where my sister was involved in a drama group. She was involved in a dance group. That's Dr. Colleen Phillips. And of course, being the little sister, I love to tag along with the big sis. Although it wasn't something she was always too keen about, she had to take me. So
Uh-huh.
I think viewing all of that, it was a matter of trying not to so much emulate her, but watching her and the others do it, I fell in love and I felt a need for it. And as I grew older, my mom did see that passion, especially where it pertains to dance. And she was actually the one who got me involved in a dance group at a young age. For pageantry, my mom as well, she was actually the one who signed me up. She signed me up for modeling. I used to model with Anjanella Young, Leandre Modeling Agency.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And from there, my mom thought it was a good idea for me to enter the pageant. She didn't ask me, she asked Anjanella. And it was Anjanella then who, coaxed me into doing it. So it wasn't really a love, it was kind of a force. But throughout the journey, throughout the journey, I started liking the moment. It was a lot of rigorous work. Um, I enjoyed it fully, and I turned out victorious, which I'm thankful for.
I mean, you mentioned that those days, Juanita, well, today you win Miss SVG and it's an automatic scholarship. Back then,
Hmm.
I don't think they have the
No,
the
we didn't
the
get that
price
at
was
all.
that.
A trophy, a crown, and that was it. $8,000. Now it has expanded to what? It was $5,000 in my time, but now it has expanded to 8,000. And being a part of that committee, we're looking to even expand the grand prize to a little more. So a grand prize, a scholarships, other parting gifts. Who could go wrong with something like that?
All I have to say
But
is somebody owes you a scholarship. Somebody owes you a scholarship
I
somewhere,
think so, right?
retroactively.
I think so. Put in a good word for me. But yeah, the experience with Miss SVG, it was really a transformative experience. And it actually allowed me to showcase not only my physique, but also my talent, which of course people know me as a dancer, and of
Right.
course my intelligence. Like I said before, the journey was really a hard one. It's no easy feat. Rigorous training, rehearsals, and preparations. But with all that, I learned to enhance, I took that opportunity to enhance my skills in aspects such as communication, speaking, stage presence, and personal presentation.
All right. Now you took that passion of dancing and you decided you wanted to hone it or perfect it, whichever term you prefer to use. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Oh, well, as a dance, let me start from the beginning because it's always good for people to understand where your passion and where your love came from. Now, my sister, again, she's a big contributor to this. I went to prep school, she went to the girls' high. And I think you might know Miss Jackie Pollard. She was the leader of the GHS dance troupe.
Okay.
And in me having to go on afternoons to meet my sister after school, just looking and watching watching them perform, I think that's where my love came from for dancing. I remember I'm a visual learner. I remember one time they were doing a dance to, I think it's Gloria Estefan who sang it, La Isla Bonita.
Yeah.
And I looked at that. I heard that song for the first time and I fell in love with it. It wasn't even about the dance, it was just about the music. And I looked at them rehearse that song over and over. And there I am looking. And I think I took the opportunity. I told my sister, I told Colleen, I said, Colleen, I want to try the dance. She didn't want me to, of course. But Jackie heard her and she said, well, take a shot. And I went up on that little stage they used to rehearse on and I did the whole thing.
The
People say
whole
you don't
routine.
remember things as a child. Yes. People say you don't remember things as a child, but I do remember that. I think persons remember things that were very significant to them. From there, my love grew even more at my alma mater, St. Joseph's Convent, Kingstown, where we had the literary arts competition. And with that competition, I would have done solos, duets, all of that. My love even grew deeper for dance there. And then I joined the Junior Dance Club and Company. Later on, I had my own dance group, the Arabesque Dance Company. And with what I gained from a little girl to where when I started the group initially, I had envisioned the group to be not only a place where I want young people to learn dance routines, but rather a place where it's more of a nurturing type of environment where they are unable
Hmm.
to unlock their skills in creativity and cultivate life skills and essential and social, just social skills. And even to enhance them academically, because we know um, too much all work and no play makes Jack or Jill a dull
Right.
girl.
Right.
So
Right.
with a little break off of the Yes, with a little break off of the studying, I think is really, I think dancing or any other form of activity, any extracurricular activity that parents could get children involved in, is really a good move. And they would obviously see some improvement because the children are less stressed. They could find creative ways of learning their lessons through dance, through drama, through different things. And also within my group, my children are usually encouraged to express themselves freely, and they do this through movement, fostering a sense of self expression and things like that.
Okay. No,
So,
no
yes.
doubt as well, no doubt as well, the dance company instills elements of discipline as well because they have to come,
Yes,
they have to rehearse at home and so forth, and make sure that they get the routine right. Now,
correct.
whenever we have cultural activities, dance is always inserted in it.
Hmm.
You hear drumming, you see dancing. Tell me where's the relevance as someone who's been dancing since you could walk and having been trained in it, what's the relevance of dance in expressing culture?
Um, the Okay, dance and culture. It is basically the two are linked, very much linked. Um, One does not go without the other. And we look at things like social cohesion. We look at the different types of traditions when it comes to dance. It's an identity. It's unique to a person. Take us for example. Our punta, our quadrille. Those things are ours. They are unique to us. And when we look at the persons from Union, even the persons from Union, they have their own unique identity where they do the cake dance.
Cake
You've
dance,
ever seen
yes.
that one?
Yes, 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 I have.
Right. So I
Uh,
think with the dances and the culture, it's deeply rooted in the tradition and and how we perform it. Yeah.
how do you come up with your routines? Let's say, for example, there's a function at the obelisk, and Arabesque is asked to perform a piece. What are some of the elements that you put into coming up with a routine that is fitting for that, as opposed to, let's say, doing a dance for Miss SVG or doing a dance for the what was the name of the Silak heads
Sila.
that just finished? Yes.
Hmm. Well, first of all, you're going to think of your audience. You're thinking of the event itself. You don't want to do a dance hall at a ceremony like the wreath laying because it doesn't fit. It's not appropriate for that. So that's one of the things I
Right.
look at when I'm performing dance. The demographics, the age groups, make sure it's appealing to everybody. And then actually putting the piece together, what I do is sometimes I don't even have an idea of what I'm going with. All I have to do is hear a piece of music and I know exactly what I want to do. I know there's some choreographers who normally write things down on paper. I don't think there was one actual time that I wrote a dance on paper because I did not want to forget it. And my dancers could attest to that. But everything else come from here and how I feel at the moment, in the moment, and then I just go from there. What I like to do a lot of is just not the basic style dancing, but I love to do a lot of theatrical style dances. And I think that's
Okay.
something I am trying to embed into my dancers. I don't want them to do just dancing anymore. I want them to learn to sing. I want them to learn to do a bit of drama and things like that. And
Okay.
this is something we did for our yearly production 2022. Yes, 2022, because we have shows biannually. And we did Broadway musicals, and they had to sing, they had to act, they had to dance. And that was something really new for them.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
yeah,
I can
that's how I
imagine.
normally,
Well,
that's what I think about when I'm choreographing. Those are some of the
I
things
have
I
a
consider.
sure. Sorry, I have a clip. I was about to say I have a clip of the group dancing, and I'm going to play it for the audience.
Sure.
Um, you'll be able to see the clip being played, and when we come back from the clip, you'd explain to our viewers exactly what the idea was behind the piece. Now, for some context, this was done at Miss SVG, I think 2 years ago. So let's
Yes.
just have a look at Arabis Dance Company. It was a much longer performance, but I for efficiency, I cut
Hmm.
parts of the clip out. But I think it gives a pretty good example of what Arabis does. So just this about 2 minutes or so of Arabis performing at Miss SVG, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about the clip. My lord, what am I doing? Uh, oh, here it is. Sorry. Uh,
Many people wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size. When I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palms of my hands, the need for my care. Because I'm a woman, phenomenally, phenomenal woman. All you women and me.
Now, Juanita, that was your group performing Every Woman at Miss SVG, and somebody was definitely singing there. I'm not sure if it was one of your girls, but tell us a little bit about that performance.
Okay, the person singing is Naya Mackenzie. One of my dancers recommended her because I was looking for a singer. I didn't want everything to be pre-recorded. Um, we that dance was all about female empowerment theme. Under the guide, it was Laflin Fraser who was the person in charge. I can't remember the
The head of the Beauty
coordinator,
Shows
the
Committee.
head of the beauty shows committee within that period. And we were pushing very heavily the female empowerment. So that theme allowed me to base that performance that you saw there. And of course, the famous Maya Angelou, we had to include her. I
Yes,
did not do that piece though. I had somebody come in, and an African girl actually named Carmen. She assisted, she came to dancing because she likes dancing. So I actually gave her that opportunity to choreograph. And she did it perfectly. So that was what
okay.
that dance was about, female empowerment.
How big is your troupe?
We are standing now a little below 90, I'll say 93, 95.
Nice.
We were like 130 something strong, but COVID happened and a lot of my girls grew disinterested. Um, it was a tough period for a couple of them because I don't even want to go into it because it's kind of emotional, given that they had
Right,
like something so much and being so shut in at that period, not able to do anything. It really took a toll. Yes,
right.
so we're down to a little bit, hoping to maximize soon over the hundreds.
And I'm hoping that for you as well. Juanita, it's been
Thank
really, really good chatting with you, and we could chat all evening, but my show is only
all
an
you.
hour, and I have some other guests to follow up.
Yes,
But keep doing what you're doing, keep promoting the culture through dance. And I wish you and your Arabesque dance company all the best. Enjoy your National Heroes Day.
Thank you so much. National Heroes Day to you as well. Take care.
All right. Take care. All the best. All right. And that was Miss Juanita Phillips of Arabesque Dance Company, works with the Ministry of Culture, promotes culture through dance, and no doubt she had a very busy National Heroes Day. And I see her; she's part of Ministry of Culture. She's part of the organizing of the the wreath laying ceremony. So very much involved, and all the best to her and her dance company. That being said, now I'm going to introduce my next guest, and we should be having two guests this segment. Uh, so the other one will join momentarily, but I'm going to introduce my next guest. This gentleman lives in the United States, the state of California. He is the honorary consul of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to California, and he is of Garifuna descent. Let me welcome to Uplift with Sehon Marshall, our guest, the honorary consul, Dr. Cadrin Gill. Dr. Gill, good evening.
Mr. Marshall, good evening to you. Thank you for inviting me to this wonderful program. I appreciate your interest in our people and our culture and our language.
So, Dr. Gill, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, where in St. Vincent and the Grenadines you're from, so that our viewers can get a bit of who you are.
Okay. I was born in the village of Sandy Bay. I don't want to tell you when was that. It's quite a while ago. And I left the village and I went to Kingstown at Emmanuel High School, where I did my secondary education. And then I left in 1965 and I went to New York. I attended Columbia University in New York, but I got my bachelor's degree in biological sciences. And then I went to the Rutgers Medical School across the Hudson River, where I attained my medical degree. And then I, as the saying goes, go west, young man. And I left the East Coast and traveled to the West Coast of California, where I did my residency in family medicine. And that particular specialty of medicine, I have a name for it. It's called I Will Take You from the Womb to the Tomb, which means a very comprehensive brand of medicine where you do pediatrics, gynecology, OBGYN, internal medicine, minor surgery, the whole realm, whole spectrum of medicine. And my intention basically was to come back home and practice my art. However, I got sidetracked by getting married to my lovely wife. This is the month of the woman, so I have to give homage.
Do not let her hear you say that you got sidetracked by getting married to her, because I'm not sure if you'll be able to go back home. Dr. Gill, well, even without the camera, we can still have our discussion because it's.
You want me to continue?
Reason, yes, let's just continue even without the camera.
All right.
So you're in Los Angeles, and you are the
Yes.
honorary consul there. Exactly what does an honorary consul do for those individuals who are watching?
Well, the duties of the honorary consul general is to represent our lovely country on behalf of the present governor and Dr. Ralphie Gonzalez. I represent him and the government and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And my jurisdiction, as I said before, encompasses the entire Western United States. So I promote tourism, culture, and all elements that has to do with our beautiful, lovely country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And if anyone gets in trouble or whatever, any issues that has to do with our country, I try to step in and represent our country to the best of my ability.
And I'm sure the best of your ability is very good in representing St. Vincent and Grenadines. Now you've come
Yes,
home to St. Vincent and Grenadines to be part of the National Heroes Day celebration. It's not the first time that you've done this. You were home, I think, 2 years ago, um, and I think at that time we had a function out at the Rabacadry River where you were present as part of the foundation, the traveling contingent. What spurs you, Dr. Gill, to return home to be part of this celebration?
well, my version and my perception, I call it a pilgrimage. It's a pilgrimage to our homeland. Now we can see me now.
Absolutely, yes, beautiful. It's so much better.
Yes, yes. So I call it a pilgrimage to our homeland. And we want to welcome the weary pilgrims from far and wide. And as you know, to give you a brief summary of our history, as you know, in 1795, our great leader, Chatier, was killed in Dorsetshire Hill. And then the war continued for 2 more years under the leadership of Duvalier and others. And they were shipped to Balisau. I think there were 5,080 Garifunas, Kalinagos, Caribs were shipped to that desert island where not even the iguanas or the lizards survive. So these 5,080 people were there, and half of them died off because of the situation that exists there. And the other half was shipped to an island in Rotan off the coast of Honduras. And from there, they spread to Honduras, to Belize, Nicaragua, and Guatemala. And out of those 2,000 and some people, there's a significant increase in the population. I think it's about 700,000. A magnificent increase from those 2,000 and odd people. And they have always dreamed of coming back to Urumi, the home of the blessed. And I think this has been going on for several years. And so this is a culmination of their efforts to make the connection to the homeland.
Mm. Now, when you left, Dr. Gillow, and years after you left, St. Vincent and the Grenadines celebrated Discovery Day, and there wasn't anything carved out in our national acknowledgement of or Garifuna people or individual history, as it were, that had the the Caribs, the Garifuna, the Kalinago, the African slaves, the indentured servants, and so forth. How meaningful is it to you as a descendant of the Garifuna people that there is now a holiday that acknowledges the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and more so acknowledges the leadership of Joseph Chatelier, with him being named the first national hero of St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
It's extremely wonderful and lovely. And to bring it back to Discovery Day, from my perception, I don't believe that Columbus ever ventured to the island of St. Vincent because of the independence of our people. And I hate the word discovery, because you cannot discover a place where people already live in. It's like me going to London for the first time and said, "Oh, I've just discovered London." But that is preposterous and arrogant on the part of the Europeans. So I want to commend the Prime Minister for spearheading our noble cause of the Caribs, the Kalinagos, the Garifunas, one people. And I said, in rose by, as my good friend Shakespeare would say, a rose by any other name will smell just as sweet. So all the name combines represent our people. And I am
Absolutely.
so happy that the Prime Minister, from the very inception of his administration, have designated Chatelier as our first national hero. And I want to commend him for that. And that's a tremendous improvement in the historical framework of our history. And it was not really, when I was growing up many moons ago, it was not really fashionable to be described as a Carib. So I'm very happy that we have acknowledged our history and our culture and the dance. I was very delighted to hear Mrs. Phillips, who have embraced the punta, which is part of our Garifuna cultural inheritance.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned what wasn't fashionable. I mean, we'll talk about that just now. And I'm expecting another guest. He seems to be having some problems logging in from the Greg's Heritage Foundation to talk about what is happening in Greg's today as well. But a few years ago, in 2022, I accompanied the Prime Minister uh, to Nicaragua as part of a delegation. And my guest who should be logging in was part of that delegation as well. And when we went to Nicaragua, we visited a place on the uh, Caribbean side, Caribbean Sea, because Nicaragua is washed by both the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific. So the
Mhm.
Caribbean Sea, a place called Bluefields, and we were shocked to see. And I'm going to show you what we saw. I'm going to put this up so you can see what we saw, and it was quite shocking but refreshing, and I felt
Yes.
proud to see something like this in Nicaragua. This is what I saw. You recognize this photo?
Oh, yes, that is my paramount chief, and it's there.
And
Joseph
this
Chatelier,
is on
His
a school,
Excellency.
absolutely, and this is on a school in Nicaragua in a place called Bluefields.
Mhm.
So even
I
even
think
in
that's,
Nicaragua, in Bluefields, the people, the Garifuna there recognize and appreciate the work of Joseph Chatelier, and they also pay homage to him. That delegation that went there included Montgomery Daniel, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Montgomery Daniel, as I said, members from the Garifuna community. Um, who participate. And I tell you, Dr. Gill, when I looked at the faces, I can tell you, I saw faces from Rosebank, I saw faces from Sandy Bay, I saw faces from yeah. It was just beautiful. The guys drumming there, you know, um,
yes.
it was so. I felt like I connected with those individuals um, who we met and who greeted us really with open arms, very warmly as we fellowship with them for that period. You know, I'm going to let my guest in. I hope he could mute his mic. He should be in now and unmute his mic and we could chat. My guest, Mr. John Nero from Greg's, part of the Greg's Heritage Foundation. Uh, John, can you hear me? Your mic is muted, John. So if you can just mute that mic, you know, so that you can be
Good
part of the
sound check.
conversation. Mute that mic and give me some volume there. Okay, we lost it. All right. Dr. Gill, you said
Yes.
that back in the day it wasn't fashionable to be a Carib. Let's talk a little bit more about that and even your own experience, what you left in Sandy Bay when you migrated, and what Sandy Bay looks like now. And I'm not just talking about only the physical infrastructure in terms of homes and so forth, but in terms of the human capital, the human capacity. Talk me through what existed then and what is happening now, and if you see that as being a part of the significance and the importance being given to our Garifuna heritage.
I think that above the Dry River, it's a quantum leap from where when I was born in Sandy Bay above the Dry River. The improvements are extremely, I think they're quite phenomenal. The roads, the schools. I remember when I was going to secondary school, there were no secondary schools in Sandy Bay, and I used to walk about 3 miles to the primary school every day for my primary education. So having a secondary school in Sandy Bay is a magnificent experience. And the roads are just amazing. It used to, as a matter of fact, it used to take me about maybe 2 or 3 hours from Sandy Bay to Kingston because the roads were not, it was not feasible to travel that fast. So now it takes about an hour. So it's a really, literally a leap in time. So, and the schools and the awareness of our people, I think that is extremely important. We were inducted with the British history, and some of us have been brainwashed with the British history. And now there's an enlightenment, there's an awakening of our people to learn our history, our true history. And as I said sometimes before, that when history is an African proverb, when history is written by the hunter, it's another story. When history is written by the lion, the true story comes out. And we are emerging as a lion to tell our own story. And that is extremely important. We are on the verge of a renaissance of our Garifuna, Carib, Kalinago civilization, because we had a civilization here prior to the advent of the Europeans. We had our own civilization. We had people living together. We had a government, etc., etc. So when people talk about bringing civilization, no, we on the Renaissance. We had our own civilization here in Urume, and we are going to continue that process. And we're going to learn the language. And when I speak, I talk to Garifuna, I want to speak in the language. I say Buiti Gunyong. That means good night. Good night. So I want to speak in our language. When we speak in the language of our ancestors, they are listening to us as we reside on this very sacred soil.
Tell us a little bit, Dr. Gill, tell our viewers a little bit about the connection between the Garifuna who are making the pilgrimage every year and any connections they're trying to forge with the Garifuna here. I think now John should have sorted out his mic and so on issues. So let me say, John, good evening. Are you there?
Good evening, sir. I hope I am.
Well, I'm hearing you, John, and listen, man, you're logging on with 10 minutes, with 10 minutes left on the show, and we're not seeing you, but that's fine. We have online Dr. Gill with us,
yes.
Mr. John Nero.
I know.
John Nero is
okay.
I was saying to our other guest, Dr. Gill, that you're part of one of the leaders of the Greg's Heritage Festival Committee, and tell us a little bit, John, about what are some of the plans you have going on for tomorrow. Right, I have a clip, John. You'd see it when I put it up, and you could probably tell us a little bit about what is going on and what individuals can expect, Lord, can expect tomorrow. Can expect at National Heroes Day celebration. You
Yes.
see any video,
So
John?
are we going to get a clip
The clip is there. Are you seeing it?
soon? It's loading. It's loading. Good evening, Dr. Gill.
Oh, it's loading. So I think you're probably a little bit behind because the clip is showing quite
Yeah,
fine
yeah,
here.
yeah.
So
Okay, doke.
this is
Yes.
an image of what is happening in Greg's. This is
All right. So,
the village
you
being
want
put
me to
together
give
there.
you? You want me to give you a guided tour?
Well, it's there, and I'm sure individuals would love for you to tell them what's going on.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure
Right.
if John is
So,
disconnected.
to give you a
Yes.
guided
Uh-huh.
tour, what you're seeing is a replica of an indigenous community, how we envision that it would have been 200, 300 years ago. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we're hearing.
Yes, we hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We're hearing you
Yes.
loud and clear, John.
Sound check.
Okay, I think John is having a bit of a
Oh, okay.
problem there with his.
Yeah, trust me, that this technology is crazy. But uh, all right, yeah. So uh, I think that what Dr. Gill was saying earlier about and just a paraphrasing, to paraphrase him, right? That we want for persons, for visitors. You still hearing me, right?
Just speak, John. We're hearing you loud and clear. Okay, I think we might have lost John.
Sound check.
I think we might have lost John there. Um,
Can you hear me?
we are hearing you, John. You may be having some problems
All right, yeah.
with
It's a
your
little
mic, but we're
awkward.
hearing you just loud and clear.
Remember
Just
that
keep
that time in the
speaking. Just
studio,
keep
that was so
speaking.
much more organic than this distance that we have. This distance that we're sharing right now, and it's virtual. So we want.
Okay, I think John is
All right,
having
nice. Okay, so we want to offer to villagers alike an immersive type of experience because we often say that heritage is not an artifact that is laid out on a table. It's an experience and it's multidimensional. So our festival features all the different dimensions of indigenous heritage, including shelter, clothing, food, and of course, whatever creative arts and craft that we can present to persons, which show it's a depiction of the type of spiritual production that used to exist among our indigenous ancestors, where whatever they did, it was for utility purposes. Now that we're living in a time that trade and tourism and so on are paramount, then we can actually monetize what was an everyday item. And that is where indigenous people now have an advantage because the workmanship that is put into what we do. For example, in creating a model community like what we do on the park, that shows the craftsmanship, the labor of love that is put in by individuals, the stakeholders, and so on. So tomorrow we want to offer to visitors and villagers alike an experience that would infuse them with a reminiscent type of, let's go back in time. That's how I sum it up. Let's go back in time and experience what our ancestors actually lived, because we can only replicate, but they actually lived in this sort of setting on an everyday basis. And so what Dr. Gill was saying about the history from the perspective of whether the conqueror or the conquered, we were not as conquered here as we might think, because we have retained our DNA, and in our DNA is embedded many different secrets and different mysteries that can be unveiled in time once we tap into these unification type of festivals and events, because we have to become more in terms of oneness within these communities, the indigenous communities, so that we can resurrect, reinvigorate the ancestors which lie in our DNA. And
You know,
it
unfortunately,
is an
John,
unspoken language, the genetics.
I was about to say
We
that
had
unfortunately,
5
with all the
days of
issues
activities because
with
we
your
often say that if
I don't know if he's
Christmas
hearing me.
is given 9 mornings and Easter is afforded 40 days of Lent, and we have 10 days of mass and music for Carnival. And these three different seasons actually are European inclined in terms of their origins. How then would we only be given 1 day to celebrate our indigenous heritage? So in Greg's, we have extended it to 5 days of activities, and then we culminate on not just His Excellency Joseph Chartier, but other heroes who would have fought alongside him, and in particular, our matriarch, Fanny Gregg, after whom our community was named. And we like to relate her story and the story of those after her. For example, Chief Daniel, Charles Daniel, who in 1905 was the one who was officiating over. Yeah,
Okay,
go.
I think we're having some issues because I don't think John is hearing us, but we're hearing him clearly, and he has said quite a bit. And you know, unfortunately, we had some problems connecting, and we out of time. The show is 1 hour, and we have 59 minutes and a few seconds left to go. And I didn't even get to delve in, Dr. Gill, into
We
issues of the connection between the diaspora and
problem.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I would have loved to get more from John about
This is an awkward
how
silence.
he sees the festival going in the future, and even you, Dr. Gill,
Yeah, Mr.
where you would
Marshall.
like to see um, the whole issue of national heroes they're going, especially in relation to the Garifuna communities. But unfortunately, we are completely out of time.
So Dr.
As
Gill is
we
very
know,
awkward because I don't know if I'm disconnected, but let
we are
me know
hearing
John,
you.
when you want
let me
to
say,
Final
step
thought,
in.
John,
final thoughts, Dr. Gill.
I want to thank you for your contribution, and you're doing a fantastic job. And we'd
So
like
may
to
I
continue
continue?
the battle.
Or have I extend
Yeah, we've come to the end of the
have I
show, John.
expired my
Unfortunately,
time?
we've come to the end of the show. Unfortunately, John. So we're wrapping up now, and so I'm just going to give Dr. Gill a chance to wrap up.
Well, I want to thank you, Mr.
Okay,
Marshall,
so
for this
I have to take this
auspicious
opportunity
occasion.
to invite all
And
visitors and every Vincentian and other persons to our festival tomorrow, March 14, 2024.
yes.
All right, John.
So as
Thank
I
you.
said before, I want to commend you for this program and for inviting us, John and I, and the dance person, Ms. Phillips. And as I said before, this is a culmination and a beginning of great things to come. And one of my objectives is to make Baliso a United Nations site. And we have the language. The United Nations have designated our language as a living language. And I want to commend the Prime Minister for this very delicate discussions to make this a reality, a Baliso a reality. And it's quite analogous to an island off the coast of Africa called Goree Island, the place of no return, where the Africans were shipped to this particular island, and then it's called the place of no return, and they were transshipped to the Western Hemisphere. So I want to commend you for this program and to enlighten our people that we have a great civilization. We might be a little country, but we are a great nation with a fantastic and inspiring history.
All right.
Thank you.
Well said, Dr. Gill. And let me thank you so much for accepting our invitation for joining this program. I really appreciate having you on. I really appreciate your perspective. And I wish you and the delegation visiting St. Vincent and the Grenadines all the best.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
And with that, we've come to the end of the program. But before we wrap up, and we're already over time, so I apologize for that. And let me apologize for the technical issues that we had, especially during our second interview segment with John Nero, who clearly was having problems hearing us. And we really apologize for that. But I end on a sad note. This week has been a difficult week as I opened Facebook, and every day for 3 days, a different individual was seen to pass. One day, I'm speaking with someone from back home, and I'm told Delise Jones has passed. And I'm like, who Delise Jones? You're crazy. But clearly, she wasn't. A few hours later, again, I open Facebook, and I see my good friend, Fernando Sirio, or CVA. Lucian brother came to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, established a family, and a very good comrade has passed. And then I open Facebook again, and I see that another gentleman who I got to know as a very quiet, unassuming, but good, kind-hearted gentleman, affectionately called Chucky, passed, all in the span of 3 days, 2 to 3 days. Life is really fragile. I extend heartfelt condolences to the family, the friends, and loved ones of those 3 individuals, Delise, Fernando, and Chucky. And I was sent a clip I saw on Facebook, and I asked for it, of friends and family paying tribute to Delise. And so this evening, I'd like to end this program with that tribute as well.
This one for them.
This one for them.
This is for them.
This one for them.
This one for them. This two for them.
Happy birthday.
This one for them.
This one for them.
This one for them.
This one for Delhi.
This you, baby.
This one for Del.
This one for them. This one for them.
This one for you, Del. Del. This one for you.
This one for Del. This one for Del.
This one for them.
This one for them.
This one for them. This one for them.